Hello everybody and welcome back to the Leeds Lens for your Leeds United 4, Crystal Palace 1 closing whistle. Apologies, I'm a few minutes late, by the way. For some reason, I forgot to connect my stream up, so I ended up firing another stream out to everybody. So if you saw about 10 seconds of a stream, then you'll know about that. But if you didn't, that's why I'm a few minutes late. But we've got loads to get into tonight in the closing whistle. There was loads of talking points about yesterday. The new way that Leeds United play. Did Leeds United actually, in possession, go back to a 4-3-3 yesterday? We did see Rodon sort of in a right-back role. We'll talk all about that. We'll also talk about what that win does for Leeds United and how important that win was for Leeds United, because it did have massive ramifications. Obviously, West Ham losing. Obviously, Forest and Fulham play tomorrow. Unfortunately, Brentford did win, but they did play against Wolves. So, I mean, come on. Even Burnley beat Wolves at Wolves. So, anyone can beat Wolves. Sorry if there are any Burnley fans, but, you know, that's the situation, lads. You're garbage. I remember when I actually did something about Burnley, and I basically got battered by Burnley fans saying, when I said I think they're one of the worst teams in the league, have it, Burnley fans. Absolutely have it. No, I'm joking. Scooby says, evening to you, Scooby. Evening to you, Scooby. Evening to you too, Scooby. Nice to see you in the chat. We're also going to talk about Daniel Farke, and I said, is he actually proving the doubters wrong now? You're all going to switch off. No, I'm joking. So we'll talk a bit about that as well. But yeah, as I said, tons and tons to get into today. I have notes galore. I've got notes everywhere. I've got like pages and pages. Honestly, it's crazy in here. It's absolutely crazy. Anyway, let's start by talking about the big picture. Because as I said, what a performance that was yesterday from Leeds. I've got to be honest, and I said it yesterday, I did not think at any point this season we were going to win a game by 3 goals. I probably didn't think we were ever going to score 4 goals, but I thought maybe that was more likely than ever win the game by a 3-goal margin. And I didn't think at any point this season either that, yes, I knew we bought loads of physical players in the summer, but knowing how bad we were at set pieces last year, at no point did I ever think this season we would win a game and score 4 set pieces in one game, especially against a Crystal Palace team who only conceded 15 goals all season. So yeah, I'm a bit blown away with it, to be honest with you. And I almost can't believe that's where we are. And I feel like today I ended up having a car crash, and I'm like, I almost deserve that for how positive I was yesterday about Leeds United. I feel like I needed some bad in my life and now ran my car into someone. So that's brilliant. Yeah, way to start well, Scott, eh? But yeah, I almost can't quite believe it. It's like, yeah, I think we're just in a really good spot at this moment in time. And I think it was really important yesterday. I know everyone we'd have been on a really good run. And I think if we hadn't have won yesterday, maybe got a draw, everyone would have come out and gone, oh, well, we've been doing well and that's not a bad result. And it wouldn't have been a bad result, a draw. But for me, I always thought yesterday was a massively important game for Leeds. Because we know West Ham, for me, were in a sort of really promising position. Well, they're not in a good position, West Ham. They've won 3 games in 17. But I looked at their 4 games after this weekend when they've got, of course, Fulham at home, Brighton at home, Wolves away, and of course Forest at home. And I thought, there is a situation here, in my opinion, forming, and I could see it before my eyes. I didn't really say it on this channel, but I could see it before my eyes, where West Ham win them games, Leeds United lose in a few games, and it ends up being, rather than West Ham and Leeds being dragged away from the pack, we end up in a situation forming where West Ham drag themselves at the pack and they join the likes of the Brentfords and the Fulhams and the Bournemouths and the Forests of the world in that pack. And Leeds United just find themselves below in the relegation zone securely. Whereas now, actually, what's ended up happening with Leeds United winning yesterday's, Leeds United have dragged themselves into that pack now. And Leeds United are sort of pulling away from West Ham. And you're seeing a real gap open up now between the sort of pack and then the bottom 3 of obviously West Ham, Burnley and Wolves. And that was so important now, because now, not only, as I said, have we created a situation where we've gained 6 points on West Ham, but almost more importantly, we've actually dragged the rest of these teams into it. Because what I was getting slightly worried about as well, not just being away from the pack, but what was starting to concern me is I felt like it was getting to the point, and I still think we're still in this point probably, where it was going to be a shootout between Leeds United and West Ham to stay in the Premier League. And that was when I didn't want to be in. I want as many teams involved in this relegation battle as humanly possible. So now Leeds United have dragged themselves into that pack. Likes of Fulhams have just woken up. Likes of Brentfords have just woken up. Likes of Forests have just woken up. The likes of Bournemouth have potentially just got a little ear thing. If they lose Semenyo in January, they're thinking, oh, it could go wrong. And that is exactly where Leeds United to be. We don't want to be on our own. We don't want to be just fighting West Ham in a little battle. We want to be in that pack, and we are in that pack. at this moment in time. As I said, if we get a draw tomorrow between Forest and Fulham, we'll be 2 points behind Fulham and we're level on points with Forest, but a better goal difference will obviously see Leeds United be in 16th in the Premier League. So that's massively important. And I think, as I said, now we're in a situation where we almost relegated Burnley yesterday as well, in my opinion, not in terms of they're relegated, but I don't think they're going to catch any of this pack now. Maybe they could catch West Ham, but they're not going to catch the rest of the pack. So I think they're down now, and we know Wolves are down completely. So we've really, really dragged ourselves out of it. And that's got to be massive credit to the players and, of course, the coaching staff for pulling Leeds out of the trenches. Because let's be honest, going into that Chelsea game, if someone had said to me that we're going to get 8 points and be unbeaten in our next 4 games, I would have probably thought they were an absolute clown. We didn't even have we had nobody on the channel saying that at all. So that is just fantastic. But anyway, let's get on more to, that was a bit of an overall of where we are, but I want to get on a bit more to sort of how Leeds United played yesterday and what the difference is. Because looking back at the game and sort of analysing it at the time, I think Leeds United played very differently yesterday. It's the most sort of physical game I have seen Leeds United play this season. And the most sort of, not unique as such, but the most obvious style of play we've seen all season. And again, this is where the manager deserves massive credit. Like, I was listening to a Man United fan just before I came on stream, and he was saying, I don't see the style of play at Man United. I don't know what we're trying to do. For me, it's the complete opposite when I watched Leeds United yesterday. I know exactly what we're trying to do. It is so obvious. Yes, it's basic football. Yes, it's probably back to Sean Dyche at Burnley. Yes, it's probably... Arf says, you were calling for Farke to be sacked. No, wasn't, mate. Anyone that has been on this channel for a while will know I never, ever, ever on this channel said Daniel Farke out. That isn't true. But regardless, I know exactly what Leeds United are doing at this moment in time, and I can tell you how Leeds United build out from the back, and it is the most, as I said, the most basic brand of football ever. I don't really care, it's about results, but it's the most basic brand of football. Essentially, Perry gets it from a goal kick, knocks it to the halfway line, they then head the ball out on a halfway line. If it was Guehi, if it was Richards, it was Lacroix, they head the ball out for a throw-in on the halfway line. We then lob the ball down the line, into the sort of, towards the corner of the pitch, straight down the line. They head it out for another throw-in, further up into their half, probably midway into the opposition's half. Ampadu then does a long throw into the penalty area, and we either create a corner, we either create a chance, something happens. We get the ball comes out, and Stack takes a shot from the edge of the area. But that was the way that Leeds United played yesterday, and it was the most obvious way, in my opinion, that Leeds United that Leeds United played. It's as I said, it's all about gaining territory, getting up the pitch, winning your second balls. And if we play like that, I am telling you, with the way the league has gone over the last few seasons, I think Leeds United can be competitive in this league to a better level than they've been. I really do. And I think whoever you're playing against will struggle with that style, because it's very, very hard to play against. And the reason I say that is because, yes, obviously it's a hard style in terms of it's always been an effective style. But fundamentally, when we're talking about set pieces and everything like this, I do think sometimes you're in a situation, for me, where what is the opposition meant to do? What is the opposition meant to do? Because if our players are fundamentally taller than theirs, we are going to win that. Like, for example, we're playing at the moment with 3 centre-backs, 3 big centre-backs. You've got Joe Rodon, you've got Biol, you've got Strauch, and we've got Stack in there as well, and you've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Obviously, Stack takes a lot of corners. But fundamentally, most teams have maybe 1 big number 9 and 2 big centre-halves. I know they have 3 yesterday, but for the most part, that's what they have. So that means Leeds United are always going to have 1 big player up against 1 smaller player. And if you've got, say, Joe Rodon or Pascal Strauch or Biol up against someone who's maybe below 6 foot and not renowned for being good in the air, how does the opposition manager coach them to be able to beat them in the air? They can't do it. So all they can do is try off-put Leeds United. And that is an advantage against anybody. As I said, even when we play Manchester City at home, again, they'll have in that team, they'll have Ruben Diaz, they'll have potentially another centre-back if it's Gvardiol. They'll have potentially Haaland. They'll definitely have Haaland up front. So they'll have them 3 big players in the team. But we'll have 1 extra. And how does the rest of the team, one of the rest of the team, mark the extra man? And I don't think they can. And that's why I feel like it's so effective. As I said, it's so basic, and I'd usually like to give you deeper analysis in this. But fundamentally, having taller players, fundamentally, is going to make it easier for them to win headers. And fundamentally, how do you stop that? You can't make them grow. It's not like you can go, oh yeah, well, wear stilts for the game. You can't do it. And I think I think fundamentally that's where we're winning on at the moment. We're just bigger than everybody else and more powerful and stronger. And I thought we just absolutely overpowered a Crystal Palace team, which, by the way, is quite a team renowned for the physicality and the strength of them. They're not a team that are usually quite diminutive at all. That's not what they are. And I thought, as I said, we just completely bullied them. Let's get into you guys' comments anyway. Day says, 991 says, it was a game of the season for me. Ampadu was brilliant. Aronson was good again. Yeah, I agree. I thought Ampadu was fantastic. And I know obviously he gets a lot of credits for his long throw and his goal, but I thought his all-round game was fantastic yesterday. I actually thought they were the best parts of his game. Like I expect him, if he's good at long throws, to be able to throw the ball into the box consistently, it's not that difficult. If I could do a long throw, it would be, the repeatability of it is quite easy. So that's fine, but he did it. But as I said, I thought his all-round game was fantastic. I thought he was man of the match yesterday, actually. And as I said, I've got a segment on Aronson coming up, actually, probably later in the show, because I think for the role he played yesterday, it suited him down to the ground. It's not a lot. It's a lot of running off the ball. It's a lot of being busy, but it's not a lot of having a lot of skill on the ball that's needed for that role, in my opinion. Although I did think he provided a few flicks, like he did a flick in the first half, I think, for Stack, where he flicked it over a man and Stack got in around the outside, which was a really good flick. But for the most part, that role suits Aronson, maybe more than Tanaka, because it's not about getting on the ball. And it's not about sort of dictating play. It's about being busy. And Aronson is a better busy player than Tanaka is. So actually for that system, Aronson kind of works. DDL says, we need signings in January 100%. Yeah, we do. And as I said, we're going to talk later as well about Calvert-Lewin versus DCL. Not Calvert-Lewin versus DCL. What am I on about? Calvert-Lewin versus Perrault. And the difference we saw when Perrault came on the pitch, which again, for me, I'll reiterate the fact that we need to go in the market and buy another physical number 9, because at the moment I do feel this style of play is brilliant and everything's fantastic, but with Nemetra out this moment in time, we are a DCL injury away from this whole thing completely being thrown in the water. As soon as DCL isn't up front or Nemetra isn't, that is it. We can't play this way. It's absolutely, he's by far the most important player for us at this moment in time. I actually think as well at this moment, and I haven't heard this said enough, we've got 3 really good centre-backs this moment, playing really well. If one of them were to get injured, I'd be a bit concerned. I would be a bit concerned because I don't think, Bornau potentially put in there, but I don't think he's probably that level. So I'm wondering if you go in the January market and you might need a centre-half as well, if I'm being totally honest. Joe Hart said we should be on 25 points at least. I've got to be honest, I've watched a lot of Joe Hart and he's probably, I don't think he's the best pundit in the world. I also feel like he just sort of says sometimes the obvious stuff. I don't think he's that much detail. In fact, Day says Joe Hart has got duct tape for a tattoo. But he needs duct tape around his mouth potentially at points as well, I think. Apologies if you are watching Joe Hart, but I think you're probably not. Calvert-Lewin, Nemetra better than Perrault. Yeah, 100%. They are 100% better. But it's not just about being better. Like, Perrault doesn't work, not because he's an awful footballer. I don't think he'll work in the Premier League as a blanket statement, but I think in certain systems he might better work to an extent. Like you saw the Everton first half, for example, at the start of the season, he did work. He just doesn't work in a team that's all about physicality and being powerful and being strong and being good in the air. He's never going to work in that because they're his worst attributes. So you're putting him in, you're taking him out of a team that he might work in when you're a possession-based side, and you're putting him into a team with basically playing with needing attributes that he just doesn't have. So he's never going to work. So we need to sell him in January. We need to bring someone in who is like Nemetra, who is like Calvert-Lewin, and I think there's available options. I'm going to talk about this as well. I think a 1 year is someone that Leeds United should be going for in January. I think he should be going for. I saw a Forest fan actually comment it under one of my videos on TikTok, because I clipped these up and put them on TikTok. And he said a 1 year would be really good for you guys. And I actually completely agree with him. I know people go, oh, but he's not getting any game at Forest. It's not about that. It's system-based. Jesus that's playing at the moment for them, is it Igor Jesus who's playing up front for them at the moment? He's a good striker, and he's probably better than a 1 year, hence he's playing for Forest. But actually for Leeds United and the way we play, a 1 year would be much better for us. So for me, as I said, I completely agree. I think a 1 year, if we could get him on loan, that'd be fantastic. The only thing is, do Forest want to do business with a direct relegation rival, which we are at this moment in time? I don't know, but I won't mind him at all. They're supposed to be spending 200 million on one player and having double inverted ticker. I'm not sure what you mean. The signings we made have been really good, actually. Everyone except Bornau, whatever that Bornau, whatever his name is. Yeah, I said a while ago, actually, and I got this completely wrong. I thought our business was not that great. I thought we had a bit of a problem with our business, and it was looking a bit of a problem. And I didn't think a lot of players were playing that well. I thought Stack at that point was playing quite poorly. Okafor wasn't playing well. Diesel at that point wasn't on the run that he's on at this moment in time. He wasn't scoring goals. And I looked at it and went, oh no, this is a bit like these signings have not really worked. But we're playing a style now that fits them, and it's now working, and the signings have been good. And I think potentially myself, or probably Underwood, an apology in terms of the way, the fact that they are starting to work now. I think that's right. But Daniel Farke, I think Underwood deserves a bit of credit, but for me, there should have been more understanding of cohesion between Adam Underwood and what he was striving for in the summer transfer window, and Daniel Farke and the style of play we were playing, because he bought a certain style, Underwood, which worked, and I think his vision of buying big, powerful players has worked, and we're seeing the benefit of that. But then we had a manager who wasn't doing that. And he was playing a completely different style that wasn't conducive with what sort of Underwood had recruited for in the summer. So for me, there was a massive failure in the first few weeks of the season between Underwood's vision and Farke's vision. And I think now we've seen them more aligned, and I think now we're seeing the benefit of that in the fact that the signings are working. You need an Aronson type of player. Yeah, I think we do in this system. Brendan does hustle well. So did Adams. Yeah, the different sort of players though. I think Aronson's obviously a bit higher up. Day says Harry Gray linked with City for 40 million is crazy. I haven't seen that, but I don't. I just doubt that that's going to be. They'll be paying 40 million for him. Bogle with Everton too. Yeah, I have seen the Bogle link. I think Team Talk have picked it up. I think obviously Football Insider picked it up as well today. We won't sell Bogle in January. I'd be surprised. Maybe it's something to do in the summer. And I don't want to sell Bogle, but in terms of, we obviously struggle with PSR naturally, and he is a PSR player for us. So if we could get them 30 million quid for Bogle, you might look at it and go, sell him, bank 25 million profit, and see if we can reintegrate that in the squad, and that might get us 3 players. So that might be something that Leeds United should look at in the summer. Now, as I said, not that we want to sell Bogle, but he is a PSR player for us. A one-year Forest striker is a good shout. Thank you, mate. Thank you. But yeah, let's have a look. I wanted to get this up though, because I've actually built how I feel like Leeds United built up yesterday, and there's a few things I want to talk about regarding it. So I'm going to show it now. We'll have a quick look at sort of how it's looking. Let's move this over here. Move you guys over here. Put that there. Keep that there. Grab this up. God, there's loads of messing about to do with this. Not there. Ugh. There we go. No. Put this here. Drop this down. Oh, do you know what? Let's minus it off. Right. Back into here. So, this is how I, yesterday, feel like we built out from the back. This is what I thought we did. So, I thought in possession, actually, and there's obviously a difference between out possession and in possession, but I thought in possession, we looked like this. And for the first sort of 20 to 25 minutes, I think we had quite a problem in the game, actually, because I felt a lot of the time, what was happening was, I think this was obviously planned by Crystal Palace, but Biol basically had all the possession, and he was basically trying to get it into Ampadu, Stacks, and Aronson's feet in here. And as soon as, say, Ampadu would get it, you'd have Mateta, Pino, Wharton, Hughes. They just track in packs and completely trap Ampadu in, and we weren't able to build through the lines, which we know Leeds United fundamentally, which is one of the reasons why we go long, struggle with massively. And as I said, for me, that was a huge problem in the early parts of the games. I found Biol, and I checked this on the stats as well, and he had the most passes in the game of anybody on the pitch. And I thought that was alarming for how we played that first sort of, what was it, maybe sort of, yeah, as I said, 20, 25 minutes before we scored the goal. And then Rodon wasn't really understanding this right-back role, in my opinion. Now, I think part of this is, because I do think we built out like this, and I think this was the way, Jack says even to you too, Jack, as well. But I think this was the way we built, as I said, the way we built out. And I think for the start of the game, one of the reasons why we didn't play so well is, I think we were a lot of people in this system were playing different roles. You had almost Bogle playing right wing, and I think he struggled a bit with that. Rodon, I think, at times struggled with the right back role, and I think we were struggling on how to sort of build out And then I think as we played the system more, we became more familiar through the game with the system. And I think the system started to work much better. And actually, by the end of the game, you ended up in a situation where you had Rodon having the most shots in the whole game. Rodon actually ended the game with 4 shots, which was more than any other player on the pitch, and I think joint with a few. But what ended up happening in the second half is Rodon, for me, understood this role of right back much more. And actually, this is how we built out. And I think the aim is that we wanted to sort of keep the solidarity of having you sort of 5 at the back, because we reverted straight back into the back 5, and we defended almost like this. We had Biol, the usual really, Biol, Rodon, Strauch, with Bogle and Gunnarsson in your back 5, and then you had sort of Aronson tucking in, and you had Calvert-Lewin and Okafor as your front 2, and we were back into a 5-3-2, and this was the way we defended. But then, as I said, as soon as a turnover would happen, Rodon would fly straight up, Bogle would fly straight up, Goodmanson would fly straight up, and you'd end up with this back into a 4-3-3 kind of system. And I think that was the way we played. And as I said, it did have benefits because it allowed us, as I said, to play in the 4-3-3, which obviously we talked about. Could Leeds United do that anywhere? But the other benefit we had with it is you don't lose the benefit of having your 3 centre backs on the pitch and the benefit you get from set pieces. So it was quite a nice when it started working, and after we scored the first goal, it started to work really well, and it ended up in a situation where we, as I said, we got the benefit of both. We got the benefit of the dominance in set pieces that we got from Rodon, Biol and Strauch being on the pitch, because as I said, Biol's not on the pitch if we're playing a back 4. And in the same breath, we also got the benefit of playing the 4-3-3. And I think this was also tried to do because when we've seen Okafor's best work, in my personal opinion, it's always been from this left-hand side the whole time. And I think when you play this system, it allows Okafor to start much wider because you've got Bogle pushing up much higher, and Okafor to be in a more natural sort of left-wing position in possession, which did suit him. Although in the same regard, I don't think he played well. So I think the formation was built around trying to get the best out of the likes of an Okafor, but it didn't. I don't think it fundamentally worked, in my personal opinion. So yeah, this was the way we sort of tried to do it. But as I said, it took a bit of time, in my opinion, to get into the game and to understand the gist of what we were trying to do. But when we started doing it, it worked so well. And as I said, Farke, again, deserves credit for this because this is fundamentally a structural change. And as I said, it worked really well. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that because I think that I was trying to find, actually, to bring you guys up average positions for the game to sort of prove my point about how we were trying to build up from the back. I couldn't actually find one. I checked FootMob, all the usual sites, couldn't find one for the life of me. So basically tried to create one instead. But fundamentally, as I said, this is how we built out from the back, and it was quite, as I said, a quite interesting mix between the 2 different styles that we've seen so far. So yeah, I thought I'd just throw that in for you guys. Anyway, let's get back to the usual screen. And we'll get my notes back up as well because I've completely shut them down. Where are you, notes? So if you do this on not on a live stream, it's quite easy to transition between the 2 naturally because you just edit this bit out. Unfortunately, I can't really do that. So yeah. Anyway, I wanted to talk a bit more about set piece dominance as well. This is a big sort of obviously a big benefit of Leeds United at this moment in time. And I was actually thinking, are Leeds United at this moment the best set piece team in the division? Are we? Because obviously Arsenal are renowned for being the best set piece team in the league. I think they have been for a number of seasons. But I've never seen Arsenal be really dominant. Their corners, aren't they? Their corners, their free kicks. They're not really long throws. And now Leeds United have started to add long throws and obviously scored 2 yesterday. I do think I'm looking at it going, I think we might be potentially the best set piece team in the division at this moment. Because also Arsenal haven't scored a set piece for a long time as well. And as I said, when we're looking at staying up, when we're talking about the basics of how we're staying up in terms of playing long balls into the midfield, winning throws, lobbing it down the line, winning another throw, being dominant on set pieces is massive for newly promoted teams, and it has been since the dawn of time. We've gone away from it in a number of years with like Russell Martin trying what he tried at Southampton, Van Nistelrooy trying what he tried last season with Leicester, and it doesn't work. And sometimes you've got to go, we ain't got the best players, so where can Leeds United get a benefit? And we talked about in the summer that was obviously through power and through physicality. And as I said, we're reaping the rewards of that because the set pieces are so good. And fundamentally, sometimes you can't stop people when they're taller, like we talked about. Anyway, let's talk a bit about striker, as I said, influence. Because DCL, I didn't quite realise. I mean, I've backed DCL, and I feel like I've become right in terms of this. In terms of a lot of people said we maybe should drop DCL, give Perot a go, something like that, and we haven't done, and we stuck with DCL, and it's worked, and we're seeing the rewards of DCL now, and he's looking like a top number 9 in this division, and one of the actual number 9s that fits this team and the way we play. Probably the most of anyone in the division of all the 9s, potentially. He's that important for our system. And I think you saw, as I said, instantaneously, as soon as he comes off, when Perot comes on, the difference in levels because he don't fit. But also, what the benefit is with DCL, because I always felt like he was doing a lot of stuff really well in terms of off-the-ball work, and he wasn't getting the rewards in front of goal. It wasn't quite falling for him. Like, I remember the Bournemouth game, he missed a few really good chances. It wasn't quite going for him. Whereas now he's added the goals, you realise the benefit of when you've got a striker scoring goals, because we're scoring so many more goals as a team now, not just with DCL, but the rest of the team. Like, we've now scored 10 goals in our last 3 home games. And when you've got a striker scoring, you almost fit your team, I feel like, can rely on a number 9. It does massively help the rest of the team, and it massively breeds confidence through the 11 that we can compete, and it takes pressure off other players from scoring goals when you know you've got a number 9 who's going to score, who is also going to score goals as well. And as I said, we need to try keep him fit. We've got to try add someone in the January transfer window, but DCL, as I said, at the moment for us, he's fundamental. This run, as the whole season has been changed fundamentally, and in the way we play. Yes, the switch to a 5-3-2 is massive, but DCL scoring goals is up there as well. That is so important. What he's been, so as I said, these last few games, terrific signing, really has been. Rodon would make a great wing back, yeah, potentially. I prefer him more in a central role because I don't think he's unbelievable on the ball. But I like his defensive actions, and I actually think on the ball he's improved dramatically. Whereas I think when we first signed Rodon, he wouldn't have been able to play a right back role like he did yesterday. I don't think that would have been possible. Perry reminds me of the monk from Mean Machine. I'm not sure the reference, mate. I might be too young for it potentially, or I just don't know it. Been a while, young man. Hope you've been keeping well, says all Leeds aren't we? Yeah, all good, mate. Fantastic. Although, as I said at the start of the video, I unfortunately ran my car into someone today, so that wasn't the best moment. But other than that, all doing quite well. Hope you're having a good time too. BMG says the first 30 minutes was a poor game, but for us, it was exactly the sort of game we want. Drag other team into a scrap. Which we end up winning. Once we scored, it was better, but they must have hated it. Oh, 100%. They won't talk about it. Guehi won't talk about it in the press. I can tell you for a fact, in that changing room, I might as well have been in there. I can tell you exactly what they said. They will find that so frustrating to play against. Long throws, heading the ball all the time. It must drive teams mad. But I love that. I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. Farke will keep us in the division, like I've always said. Have you? To be honest, mate, I remember having so much hate regarding Daniel Farke that I can't remember who said what. But if you did, mate, you're on the right side at this moment in time. Day says DCL was a 3-2 great sign. Yeah, he was, mate. And the benefit with DCL is that, as I said, even worst case scenario, even if we go down, again, because DCL was a free signing, the benefit we'll get in terms of PSR standpoint from him is massive because he was free, and as I said, now you bring him in and you potentially could sell him for maybe 30-40 million quid at the end of the season. And if you got that sort of money for a free signing, again, massive PR development there. So it's really important that, and as I said, really good for us. I know you don't think Pro has a future at Leeds, and I'd agree, but I felt a bit sorry for him. The only way he could work, in my opinion, was next to DCL, who went off. Yeah, I do feel, I agree with you, BMG, and you guys will be surprised to hear this. I do feel slightly sorry for Pro. I think we went up playing a style that very much suited him, where he could drop in, link the play up, do what Pro is good at, and then have chances to finish games as well. And this season, unfortunately, he's one of them players where, in the development of Leeds United and what we've had to do to stay in the division and move to this much more sort of physical style that we have done, he's had to be a sacrificial lamb, and he just doesn't fit into the new Leeds United system, unfortunately. As I said, it's not even his fault. It's just on a profile basis, he doesn't fit the side because he can't hold the ball up and bring others into play. Easy says, I feel vindicated for seeing a top 10 finish. I knew the squad was good enough. Well, you have said that all along, Easy, but you also did say that Daniel Farke should be sacked, mate, which you probably still believe, to be fair. And as I said, I will say with the Farke thing, and we're going to talk about Farke anyway later, so I won't spoil it too much, but I do feel, obviously, look, I said at the time, I understood the reasoning for wanting him gone at that moment. But I do feel slightly vindicated for that as well. Day says, imagine having Gellart, Gray, Nemetra and DCL as your strikers. Yeah, it doesn't sound too bad, does it, mate? I still think, even in that, Gellart's not a physical number 9. Gray, to an extent, is, but not at this moment in time. He ain't going to bring people into play. So we'd still need to bring someone in of some calibre of physicality-wise. Get DCL on that plane, 100%, Jack. Get him on the plane. I do actually think, and I said this at the start of the season to a few friends, I felt if DCL had a good season this year, because he's a unique profile, and in the way he's physical and really good in the air, he could be a player that Tuchel takes in the summer if he has a good season, which he is having at the moment. Because he could be someone you could bring on in the last 10 minutes, try and nick a goal from a corner or from a set piece. And I always felt that was something that could be an option for England. And I wouldn't be surprised if they take him. If he, as I said, if he keeps this, I mean, he's not going to keep this up. I mean, otherwise he'd score 50 goals this season. But if he keeps chipping away with goals throughout the season, he'll be on the plane, I think. I think he will. The biggest benefit for the back three is that Struijk and Rodon are even better either side of Biol than they are in the back four. I agree. I think Rodon's improvement on the ball has made him a really good right-sided centre-back. Struijk, I think, is different. I think Struik's always been really good on the ball. But I do agree. I think he is... I think he's come on leaps and bounds, and I think them wide positions suit them down to the ground. I also think you need recovery pace in them two positions as well, and I think Rodon especially has definitely got that. So as I said, I completely agree. And the other thing that I want to talk about as well now is Biol, because Biol in this system has benefited massively, and not just that, this middle centre-back role for Biol is perfect. And he's been brilliant, Biol. In the last few weeks, he's been absolutely brilliant. Like, you look through the strikers, shut down Haaland. He didn't have a massive sniff against us. Shut down Thiago at Brentford. He didn't have a sniff against us. Shut down Mateta yesterday. He didn't have a sniff against us. Against these big physical strikers, Biol just bullies them. That's his exact game plan. And I'm looking this weekend, and obviously we're playing Sunderland at the weekend. And I think even in that game, I look at it and go, again, for me, Biol's perfect against Brian Brobby, another physical striker. He'll lock him down. That's what he does. He's the lockdown king, Biol. He really is. And obviously he offers a lot going forward in terms of set-piece situation as well. I mean, he could have had 3 assists yesterday. He gets a little flick for the Ampadu goal that didn't really register an assist. Flicks on the second goal. And obviously Chris Richards flicks on the first. But Biol stood right there, challenged for it when the flick on happens. So yeah, he offers a lot going forward. But actually locking up their number 9s is massively important. Had my doubts against DCL, but his presence is what needed. So did I, mate. So did I. I've almost been wrong on DCL. I didn't think it was a particular sign at all at the time. Speaking of Aronson, that tackle on him was a stonewall pen. It's funny about this. I've watched this so many times, and I watched it. I mean, the replay got shown about 100 times. Can I be honest, people? I think Mitchell gets a bit of the ball. I wasn't at first when I watched it in live time. I thought stonewall penalty. I agree with you, BMG. I thought it was stonewall penalty. Then I watched it about 5 more times. Still felt stonewall penalty. And about the 6th or 7th time, I noticed him get his left toe got a nick on it, which pulled the ball away to the left-hand side. In my opinion, it was Mitchell's toe. And I think that saves him just. But we were unlucky. And I have seen him given. But I could understand why they didn't give it. But I've seen him given for sure. Oh, Leeds that way, he says, if we were to stay up, what would we have to do differently from our second season in the Prem? First of all, we need to spend some money. We basically, when we went up last time, we bought Harrison, Firpo, and somebody else in the window, and it was just a diabolical window. I don't think we'll do that again with the 49ers. Actually, interestingly, and this is probably more of a conversation for the other day, my only slight concern is that obviously, this way we're playing, and it's all about the present. We are present FC at the moment. Forget the future plans. Forget all this stuff. It's about staying in the league this year, and let's build from that position. My only slight worry is if we go massively down a path of physicality, set pieces, long balls, all this style, I think it's hard to progress up the league. So this year, as I said, it's all about finishing 17th. But next season, we need to try finish 13th, maybe 12th, push up the league. And I think when you're trying to do that and trying to progress up the league, you've got to go into a more possession-based style. I think the better you get in a division, the higher up, you've got to go more to an in-ball possession team. And I think my only slight concern is that if we continue to go down this style, I think we'll limit how far we can progress up the league. But as I said, at the moment, it's perfect because we're just trying to stay in the league. But I think the long-term future... That's a bit of my concern with the way we're playing at this moment, I've got to be honest. But as I said, nothing to worry about that. BMG says, agree on Biol. Didn't look great in the back four, but since City, no one has got a change out of him. He's been massive. Yeah, he has. And as I said, the stuff that he offers going forward is really good as well. I was the opposite on that pen. I thought he got the ball, then there was an ankle that seemed to show that Mitchell didn't touch it. All right, okay. But maybe I'm wrong, mate. I'm quite open to being wrong. And as I said, if it'd been given as a penalty, I don't think there'd been too many complaints from anybody. Day says the Sunderland game is massive. 5 players on AFCON. If we beat them, the gap would be significant. Yeah, it would. The Sunderland game is huge. We said this after the Liverpool game. It was all good getting them results against Liverpool and Chelsea, but we had to go and back it up. I still feel we're not out the rough yet. And I also feel, as I said, with West Ham's games that they've got coming up, which are really good, if we're going to try keep up with their position in terms of keep this 6-point gap, we're going to have to try, if we can as much, match their results in the next 4, which is going to be really tricky because fundamentally they've got miles better fixtures with, as I said, Fulham, Brighton, Wolves and Forest. Wolves, Brighton at home, obviously with Forest at home as well, and Wolves away. It's going to be hard for us to keep up, match them, but we're going to have to try get some points, in my opinion, to do that, in my opinion. To sort of get near them and make sure they don't fully bridge the gap. So the Sunderland game is massive for that. Agreed, we need controllers in that midfield. Yeah, because the one thing, and I will die on this hill, I've said it a number of times, and I said we are in a fantastic moment. We really are in a really good moment. But I do feel a bit, I've got to be honest, like, yes, we're in a fantastic moment, but we're not completely out of it yet. We're not completely out of it. And I still do feel as well like we still can't progress the ball through midfield. We are in possession. I've got to be honest, we're still bad. We are awful on the ball. I still haven't seen Leeds United probably for weeks now be able to get the ball with Biol, pass it into Ampadu, pass it into Stack, pass it to a wide man and progress up the pitch. We can't do that. We just somehow break down as we try to do it. We either pass it out of play, we miscontrol it, they press it and dispossess us. We just can't progress through the pitch, which is why we're doing the long ball approach. But not being able to do that is slightly concerning for long-term vision. But right now, as I said, it's fine. If we do... I agree, we need some controls in midfield, yeah. If we do stay up, it could be Coventry, Borough, and I'd say Hull or someone coming up. So there's much better chance of us staying up, 100%. As I said, if we stay up this season, which I am praying we do, the long-term future is looking good for Leeds, because I don't think I think if you add another 150 million quid to this squad, which we will be able to do this summer, it's the start again of a PSR cycle. If we can add another 150 million squads this summer, we'll stay up. And if we don't, as long as we don't blast it on absolute crap, we'll be fine for years then. We're up then. That's it, we're up. And we can start focusing on building up through the league. And actually, when you stay up for one season, you don't have to do that many good summers to find yourself in Europe. It actually progresses really quickly. And that's a real positive. As I said, I've always said this season for me was harder than last season in terms of the objective. The objective last season was to get promotion, but with the squad we had, I felt that was really, really plausible and a really achievable goal to do. I felt at the start of this season, I still do, our squad's not very good, and it's going to be a slog all season to stay in the league, and it's probably a bigger achievement to stay up this year than it was promotion last year, which sounds madness, but if you know what I mean in terms of level of team, you might understand my reasoning. But I always then felt if we could stay up one season, just stay up a year, imagine adding another 150 million squad to this team. You get another good striker that you want, maybe a £30 million striker, add another top draw winger, which we're missing out, maybe add a left-back cover for Goodmanson, or maybe buy someone that's even better than Goodmanson. Maybe buy another goalkeeper if you're not happy with Perry, maybe get another centre-back in. Honestly, as soon as you add that money into this team, you look at it and you go, wow, we really could have a really good team really quickly. And then, as I said, you look at the other teams coming up and you go, well, we'll have a miles better squad than them, so there'll be no excuse then to progress up the league and not finish in the bottom 3. So one more season and we can be so competitive in this league, but we've just got to stay at one time, which is why every game is like a cup final this year. And it's why I'm so pleased at the moment that we're in a position that we are, where it's almost feeling more likely that we're going to stay up, because I must admit, I'm still not there yet with staying up, but I'm getting more optimistic about it. What has been your favourite game this season, Scott? Or Chelsea by far, mate. Chelsea by far. Chelsea was brilliant all game because we scored after 5 minutes. They're one of our most fierce rivals. The atmosphere was out of this world. And it was just a brilliant day. It was the start of the new Leeds United, which I'm calling it. This new four games, the biggest game of the season, biggest result of the season. That game, by far the Chelsea game. At 90 minutes, I was looking forward to the stress. Free cruise to 6 points. Then we had to concede. I was bricking it for 8 minutes, especially when they hit the post. Mate, if that Devaney had hit the post and scored when he should have scored, oh my word, I'd have been absolutely cacking it. And that is a slight issue because we do concede a lot of goals in the 90+ minute. I think we're the worst in the division for that. Easy says, if the boys can beat Chelsea and Crystal Palace, they're capable of beating anyone, as long as we play to our strengths. I actually genuinely agree with you. As I said, it's not pretty, it's not fancy, but I'm telling you what, it's enjoyable. I enjoy this long ball. I said this a few weeks ago after, I think, when we beat Chelsea. I'm sick to death of this possession-based football. I've got to be honest, half the times last season, we were winning games, but I was absolutely bored to death. I mean, I remember us playing Plymouth at home, and we won the game 3-0, and we were winning 3-0 at half-time. They didn't even have a shot at our goal all game, Plymouth. And in the second half, I was basically on my phone and I was in the ground. I was that bored. We were just passing it between, and it was fine because we got the result we required and we were making sure we didn't give anything daft away. But it was mind-numbingly boring to watch. Whereas actually playing long throws, as soon as we get a corner or throw in now, the whole crowd flies up. I'm off my seat at home. It's brilliant. I really enjoy it. BMG says, we are limited, Scott, but at least we're playing with those limitations, and it's okay for now, as you say, make ourselves hideous to play against. Exactly, mate. Exactly. And I like the fact, I think if you're Man City and you've got Leeds United away coming up, you're thinking, oh my God, going there and it's just going to be crap football, long throws, balls into the box, headers out. That's not what Man City want to do. They'll be thinking, oh, for God's sake, having to go and play them, that is just the most turgid garbage ever. And I love it. I love that I know that Man City will be thinking that. I know that sounds mad, but they will honestly be thinking that. So will any team in the division. They'll hate coming to Ellen Road because this style, it's beautiful. It's brilliant. I absolutely love it. The build-up needs work on the training ground. Hopefully Farke prioritises that at some point. I disagree, actually. I think this is one probably for a more long-term vision, or Leeds that way. I don't think this is one for right now. I think just keep to your strengths. Our strength isn't building through the team. It isn't building through the team fundamentally because we haven't got a lot of good ball progressors. We haven't got an Adam Wharton in our midfield who can take the ball in the half turn and spin it and roll it into a striker with just complete class. We ain't got that. That isn't what we've got. So we need to stick to our positives and stick to our strengths and play to them. We don't need to start trying to do other styles, in my opinion. Daniel Farke says Arthur, and he seems very happy about it. I really hope we can do some smart business in Jan. I don't think we'll do much, but a couple of smart signings or loans could really help. Yeah, I agree. For me, it's more in January about damage limitation. I'm sort of fully of the opinion, really, that West Ham, Brentford, Fulham are probably going to spend more than Leeds United, probably better business in terms of players. But we've got to try and not make sure that gap's enormous because we just don't have the money that we can't spend what they can in the January window. It's as simple as that. And because of that, we've got to sort of manage it in a certain way, and hopefully we can do some smart business because you might spend 30 million on a player, and we might get a loan, but the loan might work better, and we've got to hope that is the case. But I mean, truthfully, I wish it didn't exist. Which sounds mad, but I just think they'll all be improved by more than us just because of the financial benefits that they've got with FFP. I'm happy with Farke, but if we stay up, we should definitely get a better manager. Yeah, that's something to look at, mate, for sure. Arthur says, my favourite 2 games, Liverpool, Man City, second half. You can't have one of your best games as a loss. Come on. You're joking. Tanaka was brilliant in the Chelsea game. He was really good in the Chelsea game. Thomas Frank went to Spurs, still looked for the same team. Not all about getting a better manager. Yeah. This system does seem suit so many of our players better. The 3 centre-backs, also DCL, Bogle, Gabby, Aronson seem better, agreed. In the role he played yesterday, Okafor is maybe the exception. Yeah, I got told on this channel a few times by a few, I don't think there's any in your comments actually, that Okafor up front with DCL works better than Nemecha. Nonsense. As soon as Nemecha's fit, put him straight back in. 100%. Okafor, again, do you remember like we talked about Perot? Even Nonto are in this camp as well, to be honest. When we talk about, as I said, who fits profile-wise into this team, as you talked about it yourself, Gabby and Bogle are brilliant because they run all day. Suits Rodon, suits Strauch, suits Biol. Biol's brilliant in that centre role. Rodon and Strauch are good on the outsides because they're fast, they recover pace, they're good on the ball. They all fit perfectly. As I said, Bogle, Gabby suit it massively well. I actually think Ampadu Stack suit the midfield role as well. DCL suits it up front. A lot of players it suits. It suits Nemetra as well. Doesn't suit Okafor. Doesn't suit Nonto. Doesn't suit Perot. These players, unfortunately, sacrifices. They just don't really fit. Okafor swapping for Nonto. Yeah, I still think you have the same story. Ampadu seems to be better in this formation too. Yeah, he does. We need another centre-back if we stick with a 3-5-2, I agree. A striker too, possibly a wing-back. Would you consider Harvey Elliott on loan, knowing he's leaving Villa in January? I don't mind Harvey Elliott. As I said, I just don't quite know where he fits, if I'm being honest. I don't quite know where he fits. I don't think he gets into any of the midfield three, profile-wise. Maybe he could play the Aronson role better than Aronson, probably that, to be fair. And I wouldn't want him as one of your top two, so I don't fundamentally know where he fits. He'd fit more, to be honest, if we were playing a 4-3-3. Stat looks better going forward, yeah, he does. It's a World Cup year, so there's loads of definite potential. The more higher up table we are, the better quality of the wins. Yeah. Remember Farke had 2 bed in 9 players. Yeah, he did. He did have to bed in a lot of players, although Regis LeBrie obviously bed in a lot of players, and that works really well. And they've done really well, so... You know, it's true that West Ham, etc., could throw money at the problem, but January signings often aren't season changing. Exactly. We spent 100 million and still got relegated. If we'd have bought Rutter was 35 million, made no impact. I knew he was brilliant for us, Rutter, but he made no impact the year we went down. McKennie was obviously on loan, but he had an obligation to buy had we stayed up for 30 million. We spent 15 million quid on Wober, who did a bit, but wasn't revolutionary to the team. But West Ham are looking at Strand Larson, who I think is quite a good signing. So and then they need a number 9 dramatically, massively. So, you know, something about Farke, I can't get rid of him. Easy says, we have an experienced squad. I think that is our true strength. Sure, you think our true strength, though, as well is... I agree with you. We have got an experienced squad, and I think we haven't bought a lot of young players, and obviously I think that's working to our advantage. So I agree with you on that. I fundamentally think our main strength, though, is that we are ridiculously good in a duel, ridiculously overpowering on teams, and ridiculously strong and powerful. They're our best attributes by far. BMG says, I'm not sure we need another centre-back. Ampadu can play in there. He can, mate, but he can't play in there. But we want the physicality that you get from having 3 centre-backs. So, as I said, Rodon, Strauch, Biol, all really good in the air. Ampadu isn't good in the air in the same way that they are. So, for me, it doesn't. I disagree on that. Justin can probably play in a back 3-2. Yeah, he can. To be honest, if we had an injury in the back 3 at this moment in time, I would put Ball now in there, just because I think, in terms of a profile, he's probably the most similar. So, yeah. Point at Sunderland, winner too bad. Yeah, point at Sunderland won't be bad, mate. West Ham have their London base advantage. Players prefer South more than the North, majority anyway. Yeah, they also have probably can throw up a few more wages at it still than Leeds United can, just because of the PSR as well. So they've got a few positives. But their home form, by the way, this is a different point to obviously what you make in day-to-day, but their home form is a huge problem for them, it really is. I've not seen much of Spurtson, but we were linked with him before, and he's meant to be very decent. Yeah, I don't know loads about him, mate. I researched him obviously in the summer, and he was having a fantastic season in the Russian league at that point. Again, though, he's not really the profile I'm looking for. A physical number 9. For me, of all the things that we can do in the January window, we've got to make sure we can add another physical number 9. That's got to be the priority, in my opinion. We have a team of giants play to our strengths. Exactly, Darren. Exactly. You've got a team of giants. So what do? Don't play it on the deck like Farke did for the first few weeks. Get it in the air. Keep the ball in the air as much as possible. And the other thing is, if you're in the air, it's not on the deck, so the other teams can't pass through us, which is what their strengths are. Keep it in the air. Make it horrible. Exactly right. R says Wolves versus Liverpool next. Yeah, it is. And then we've got Liverpool away after that. That's what I've said. If you read the entire comment, Bornau can play centre-back. You skip that part. Oh, sorry, mate. If we don't sign anyone in January, it's Bradford away next season. Hopefully not. We're closer to 9th than we are 18th now. That's crazy, mate, isn't it? That is crazy. Well, as I said, we're in that pack now, aren't we? All Leeds, aren't we? We're in that pack. We're not in that below pack anymore. We're in that pack. Gurren Price has lost tonight at the darts. Good. I can't stand him. What else do I want to talk about? talked a bit about Aronson, didn't we? We beat Sunderland next week. It's 5 points behind them. Mental. Yeah, I'm slightly worried about that, though. I'm not convinced we will. I'd take a point now. We would be the physical... Who would the physical number 9 be? Any specific players in mind? I mentioned earlier in the video a Wanye. I don't think... I know people might go, oh, we can't get in the Forest team. As I said, it's profile-wise. It's profile-wise. Jesus for them is sort of... Jesus for them is a better striker fundamentally, but a Wanye for us would suit us down to the ground. I just worry if they'd actually do it. But I'd like the idea of a Wanye, I really would. I would be tempted to bring in a forward in, especially with the injury records of Diesel and Nemecha. I completely agree. I don't think we should spend in January because we need the money for next season. It's a different book sheet, mate. So if we don't spend any money in January, as soon as it gets to July 1st, we can spend in the summer window and it won't make any difference. So we're basically maxed out anyway and we can't spend much regardless. I think we've got about 100 million to spend and we spent something like 97 of it. So we don't really have much to do, in truth. We don't have much leeway anyway. We can't bring much in, but it won't. If we spend in January, it won't massively affect what we can spend in the summer. So we should do that. Jack says, promise David for me. Yeah, he's doing well at USG. I think we've mentioned him a few times. He'd be a good option, I think. Bradford away, good day out. Oh, no. Oh, that'd be awful. To be honest, hopefully, though, I don't think they're going to get promoted anyway. I'm from Denham, Arthur, so I know Bradford. I'm not far from Denham either, mate, in truthfully. Denham is about 10 minutes away from me. I won't give my location away, but I'm not far from there. I think Sunderland have probably done enough to stay up, but I do think they will have a blip, and hopefully it starts now. Yeah, I do. I do think that they will have a blip, yeah. I do. But they've done enough, haven't they? I think give me 20 quid an hour, and I'll go up top for a few months. Are you tall, Dade? Are you tall? We should break the bank in Jan. Yeah, I did. I mean, we can spend everything you've got, but we just can't. We just can't. Whatchamacallit? Sorry, comments are throwing me off a bit. We don't want to break the bank and lose on terms of. We don't want to get points deduction. And I think they're being much tighter with that at this moment. Anyway, I'm probably going to wrap it up there. I think we've got through everything I wanted to. Haworth, no, I'm not from Haworth. Close, but I'm not from there. We can spend in Jan, and if we overspend, we have until end June to sell someone to balance the books. Exactly, mate. Exactly. But it's tricky because that period you don't get good money for your players, so it's not ideal. I think Pro Harrison might go in January. I hope potentially that happens. Yeah. No, I'm 5'8", unfortunately. Yeah. If you're 5'8", mate, you're not playing up front for Leeds, I'm afraid. You can't. Can you hold the ball up there? Have you got a good jump on you? Because maybe then. Anyway, thanks all for watching. As always, I've enjoyed it tonight. And all Leeds that way says, loved it tonight, Scott. We are back. We are so back, mate. And we are going into Christmas, and we're not in the bottom three, which, let's be honest, we all thought we probably would be. And not only are we not in the bottom three, we are 6 points outside. So we can, as I said yesterday, we can get to Christmas Day now, have a beer, do whatever you want to do. Have a non-alcoholic beer if you want. Have a water if you want, or a lemon and lime. Whatever you want to have. But enjoy it, because we're not in a bad position at the moment, and it's going well. 4 wins in 4. 4 games undefeated, 2 wins in 4. We're flying. 8 points in the last 4 games. See you later, everybody, anyway. Bye for now.